So this year I thought, let's do something a little bit different in terms of forming our intentions. A lot of times intentions are about our heart's desire. And when we're spiritual people, they're about, our truest aspirations. And mine tends to be the same every year, right? Increasing evolution in consciousness, increasing awakening and enlightenment. And it's a beautiful aspiration. Okay. And I think that many of you have similar kinds of aspirations. And so I thought, let's see if we can get maybe a little bit more practical, but also focus around what is our Dharma. And Dharma is a term that's used in both Hinduism and Buddhism quite a bit. And of course, I know it from the yogic perspective. So I just want to talk a little bit about what does Dharma mean? Dharma, our Dharma. Well, basically, Dharma means law or rule. What are the natural laws of the universe? And to follow one's Dharma, or to follow the Dharma, is to follow the laws of the universe. What does that mean at a spiritual level? Well, it means to be in tune with the divine. But in Hinduism, right, Dharma it actually had many dimensions. Okay, and the one Dharma that was very important in early Hinduism, and still is today to a certain extent, is what are called the ashramas, or the stages of life. So you have the stage of being a youngster and a student, right? And then you have the stage of being a householder. And then you have the stage of being a forest dweller, or a retired person. And then you have the stage of the sannyasa, the renunciate, whose only goal is to have true liberation before death. And our Dharma has to do with what stage of life we're in. The laws, the rules, the obligations, the duties that we have are related to that. Right. So when you're a kid in school, you gotta do your homework. You gotta go to school. You gotta take the trash out when mom and dad say so, maybe, and those kinds of things. And then when you become a householder, you've got, and many of us are, many of you are still householders. And I am too, but it's a different stage when you get into that stage of retirement, or you get into that stage of sannyasa. But as a householder, you're busy and you're active in the world. And that determines a lot of what your obligations and your duties are, right? And so you begin to know what your role in life is, what you're supposed to do. And this is our Dharma. So for those of us who've kind of moved out of the householder stage and we're more in that forest dwelling stage, the age of retirement, our responsibilities are different. And then to take the next step, which is like pure renunciation, is a totally different kind of stage. But so for each stage of life, we kind of go by different rules. And that's something that is considered to be very important to be in touch with. And then in Hinduism, it also had to do about, were you a priest? Were you a warrior? Were you a business person? Or were you a serving person, right? The caste system, which was developed in ancient Hinduism to try to bring some kind of rule of law into society. And of course, it has all kinds of difficulties, but it's important for each one of us to think about, so what am I? Am I a servant? Maybe a servant of the divine, right? Am I a business person, a professional? Many of us are. Am I of a warrior? Do I take on a strong leadership role in life? Am am I the priestly caste? Is my life primarily devoted to my spiritual practice or leading others in spiritual practice, being a teacher? So then, if you're any one of those, whatever stage of life you're at, those two things, kind of work together. So all of this begins to create our Dharma. So there's the Sanatana Dharma, that's the universal Dharma. And it's what all human beings have to abide by. We're embodied. We need to eat. We need to take care of our bodies. We need to take care of the body that we live on, Mother Earth, etc. And we also need to know that this is divine order. And therefore, we have an obligation to feel some affinity, to begin to understand the divine nature of things. And so we've got what is called the Sanatana Dharma. This is the universal law. It's the wheel of life. It's how things work in the manifest world. And then we have Swadharma, S-V-A, Swa, and that means self. So then there's the Dharma of the self, my individual Dharma. And that's connected to that I'm a human being living in this planet, the larger picture. It's connected to the stage of life I'm in. It's connected to my profession. It's connected to, how do I spend my days? How do I bring in money or bring in that which I need to survive? How do I do all that? So they're important things. They're things when you haven't stopped to think about it in a while. But if you think about it, it's probably pretty clear which of these stages you are in. So what I'm suggesting is in 2023 that we think about our intentions in connection with our Swadharma. Now, when I sent out the email, I also invited you to consider what intentions do you have that feel in alignment, that feel in harmony with the divine plan? With the divine plan for you. How are you in 2023 going to manifest the divine plan for yourself? And what are your intentions around that? So that's how I'm just inviting us to take a look at it this year. So it may be that this will modify how you would normally make an intention. It might not. It's fine. It's fine either way. But what is my Swadharma? So it's a big question, but there's a smaller question embedded within it, right? Like, what is my life's purpose? And some of us may be very clear at what our life's purpose is. And we may be very clear that that has changed as we've changed the stage of life we're in, the profession, the relationships we're in. Okay, that yes, it's changed. And yet Sanatana, universal Dharma, would say that actually there is only one Dharma for all beings. And that is to return to full and complete awareness and liberation. And all this wheel of life that we go through is all about helping us, the whole world, every being, to manifest, to evolve, and to realize the divine once again, right? The whole story of we feel this separation from the divine, and our whole journey in life is to return to the divine. However many lifetimes that takes, however many governments need to arise and dissolve, whatever it takes, not just for ourselves, but for all beings to return to the universal divine. So that's the big picture. But within that, who am I? And how does my Dharma fit in with this? And what is it that divine is calling me to do this year at this stage of life, in these relationships that I'm in this kula that I'm a part of, what is she calling for? So it's a little different than what I want for this year, you see. Maybe, maybe not. But what is my intention, my swadharma, that is in line with the divine's calling? So that's what I'm inviting us to ponder. Now, I started by saying I wanted to give you something a little more practical, and maybe as I'm talking about this, it doesn't feel too practical. But I'm going to give you an example. I went through this exercise myself, and I'm going to give you an example. So I'll just tell you, if it was up to me, what I would be doing in 2023 is, kind of living in this nice little cave that I have here, and not doing so many activities, and not, just kind of really laying low. I mean, quite frankly, yeah, if it were really up to me, at least I tell myself this, I'd spend it in a cave. Maybe I'd go back to the ashram, but actually the ashram's even too busy for me, I'd probably just kind of close all the doors and say, see you guys. But that's not the true me. That's the kind of, there's something called the spiritual ego. That's that part of me that is imagining, oh, okay, if I do that, then, I'll get to that place I really want to be. But that's not what it's about. It's about, what am I being told and guided and called to do in this next year? So as much as I might think I would like to do that, that is not what I'm being guided to do. So I'm going to actually share with you what I did, because this is what we're going to be doing in the exercise. So everybody at home, I hope you have 7 crystals and a central crystal. You don't have to have it right this second, but I just want to make sure that you got those instructions. And then everybody here has 2 paper plates. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be placing our central crystal in the center. Don't do any of this yet, just watch, because you're going to do it in your own way, okay? And then around it with the little crystals, okay, each crystal is going to stand for a supportive intention. So I've got my main intention, that's my main crystal, and then I've got the surrounding ones. So we're creating a crystal grid. And when we get to that point, many of you know how to empower a crystal grid, but I'll take us all through that so that you're absolutely sure that you know what to do. Okay, so this is what we're all going to be doing. And then the work part is figuring out what's going to go in here. So you don't have to take a screenshot of this. I'm just showing. Okay, so mine got a little bit, elaborate. I had to do a little bit of explaining. So I'm going to just tell you what I have in here. So it's become very clear to me. Some of you have heard me talk about this. The Love Force book is finally coming out in mid to late February. Been waiting for this for a very long time. When Divine Mother first guided me to write this book on Kali Ki Reiki, she basically said, you just write the book and I'll do the rest. So I decided to interpret that as like, yeah, I'll write the book, it'll get published, and then I'll go away someplace and just let the book go wherever it's going to go. Sandra's my editor, so she's not going to let me get away with that. Okay. That's like spiritual ego talking. Well, it's very clear to me that I have a big job in 2023, right? Which, as I thought about it, it's like, okay, so what is it? What is that job? And the words that I came up with are stewarding Kali Ki Reiki in 2023. That, you know, I'm the guardian of this profound teaching that is being released into the public, which may be controversial to some, may be complicated to others. You know, it's going to be very interesting to see what comes once this book is released. A few of you have actually already read it because you've been in some of our advanced courses where we were reading it. You know what's in it. Most of you, you know, are people and you love it. But there are going to be people out there who are, you know, opposed to it. Maybe you'll be one of those, Eric. You know, you were taught a different lineage of Reiki, you know, and to hear that there's a new lineage is going to create controversy. So my job is to be a steward. And for that, I have to have integrity. I have to have integrity in my egoic self, right? And not just be searching for some kind of fame or recognition, but to keep the lineage in integrity. Truth. I've got to be based in truth. Discernment. I've got to use my discernment, or what we call yogic discrimination, to know actually when what I'm doing, this stewardship, is really in alignment with the divine, or is my ego pulling it in some other direction. I also have to use my discernment as we develop new projects. Several of you are involved in our Wisdom School Council and our teachers, and you know, we've been talking about a lot of new projects and doing things to get set up for whatever might happen when more people begin to know about Kali Ki Reiki. Love. You know, I have to be doing all of this in love, as love. The book is about the love force. And as the steward, as the representative, that has to, I need to manifest that. So there, I've got some things underneath that. Strength. And I say, Ma is my mountain. It's going to take some strength to see this through, so to speak. I don't get to just go to the cave. And to sometimes just stand ground for what it is that we're introducing to the world. And then the Wisdom School, I do have a responsibility to the Wisdom School. We're not going to close the doors, and I don't really want to at all. But we're in the process of reorganizing and working on our social media, working on our website, making everything more accessible, and having more online classes and having more of an online presence. And then for me, divine mission, my continuing role with my ashram and my guru, and how does that all fit into all of this? And then finally, I wrote evolution, personal, universal, and collaboration, you know, to do this in the spirit of collaboration with others. So that I'm sharing this with you because it's just very clear to me what, for me anyway, my Dharma is in 2023. And I need, the word Dharma really means truth, right? I need to do this with integrity and in truth, right? And it's a tall order. It's also very practical, actually. It's very down to earth. Right? This is what I've got to do. So it's a matter, though, of how I do it. So a lot of times, as we all know, we have important tasks in life, being a grandmother, having your adult children living at home with you, whatever your situation is, how does that become your Dharma? And how does that actually fit in with your highest aspirations for evolution and the spiritual path? So whether you're a student, a householder, a forest dweller, or a renunciate, but none of us get to do that completely, right? So how do we support, how do we understand our Dharma, embrace our Dharma, and support it? So that's the exercise. So questions, comments?
I'm not speaking, but I do have a question. No, I can speak to you.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe there's several.
Several?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
there's several. And
Yeah, so what I would suggest is two things. One is, so pick the one that feels maybe most challenging to work with that, okay? And then see if there isn't a uniting thread, right? Because all of us want all those different goals or obligations in life. We want them all to mesh. So is there something that is your Dharma that weaves that all together? So I would look at it that way. So either just choose the most challenging, right? Because the other ones tend to fall in place. And maybe it's whatever's the most challenging today won't be 6 months from now, but that's fine. And if you want to have 6 plates and do 3 times, you can. But really see if there's something that's like the meta Dharma for 2023. Yeah, Christina.
You had mentioned 7 of this, our intention.
Yes.
Is this for the entire 2023? Because my intention could change in the next few months.
Okay. All right. No. What is your Dharma for 2023? That's the central one. That's for all of 23. And then what are the intentions that will support that? So maybe those will change, but right now, in order to support and to fulfill your Dharma in 2023, what do you need to do, think, know, understand? Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna take 25 minutes, I think, for everybody to work on this. So those of you online, you can just go ahead and start doing your own work. Let's be back here, because I want some time to talk about it. Actually, let's be back here at 20 minutes. And those of you here, if you want to spread out, you can use the kitchen table, you can use the table in the family room if you just want a little more space. But basically, what I want you to do is to return with something like this that has your crystals in it, and then your map next to you. Okay, so one plate has the actual grid, and this has the map.
What do you have written in the center of your map?
So this is my main.
Right.
This is my main. So for me, I wrote stewarding Kali Ki Reiki.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna, Leona?
I have a practical question.
Sure.
So what do we do with our crystals in the next 20 minutes? Do we set them up like that, or?
Yeah. You want to have, okay, I just can't, so I can't.
No, I got it. I watched the whole thing. I
Okay,
just
so
want to know if what we
it's-
do is what you did for the
Yeah,
next.
you do the, you
Okay.
do this, and you don't have to have the little drawings there. I'm just showing you. Mine's going to be like this, right?
Yeah.
And- yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, but you have two things. One is the drawing, and then the second is the map.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. See ya.
All right.